Well, good morning, everyone. Dr. Colin here, and I'm excited to do this Go Big call this morning. Today, we're going to be talking about, obviously, going big in your practice. But here's the big thing is that, I talk to chiropractors all the time, and having been in practice for 30 years, one of the biggest things I see is many chiropractors never transition from the mindset of serving as a chiropractor. And that's, this is wonderful. How you graduate from school, you're given the tools to be a great diagnostician, and then to get into practice. You're so excited as a young chiropractor to get into practice, get your hands on people, start serving people. And the more people you start to see and serve, you start to become a really good chiropractor. You get the knowledge and the experience of caring for people and be able to deliver adjustments, and you start to get good hands, and you become a good adjuster, and you start to be able to communicate with people in a better way. But there's a big transition between those times, and that's where many chiropractors stay for their entire existence in practice, and they never transition into the next stages of chiropractic care where you really start to make a difference. And this is where you make a huge difference, not only for people's lives and the transition of their own health and understanding of the principle of chiropractic, your own transition of your practice, your wealth, your ability to affect people's lives and transform people's lives, but also for the profession. So for you, if you have the deep desire to transform the profession, this is where we need to take our practice. This is where we need to take our understanding and our ability to communicate that through our community. We're going to become the mindset, or we're going to have the mindset, develop the mindset of a CEO, a chiropractic CEO. So not only just taking that principle, but applying that principle to our practice, and then building our practice into a viable business. So we're going to talk about business strategies today to help you to build your practice into a viable business that can go and scale as large as you want when you put the right systems and foundations in place, but make a huge difference in your community. But not only that, is serve you in a big way, because here's what we see. We see this all the time as chiropractors, and you've known chiropractors who have built big practices. But the big practices have been totally dependent on them. And I saw this all the time, and I was so in awe of people back in my early days in practice, in the early 90s, going to seminars, going to DE, hearing these big speakers, hearing the numbers of people that they were seeing, 500, 800, 1,000, 1,500, 2,000, 3,000 people a week. And it blew my mind on how that could happen. And I wanted to do that. And we did. We learned the systems. We built a huge practice. We saw, 1,200 people a week. But the problem is that, let's say you're a solo practitioner, or even if you're a partnership or you have an associate, you start building big numbers. If you don't have the mindset of a CEO and put these proper business things in place, then what happens is you end up being the sole provider of your practice. The practice is 100% dependent on you. And that is not good for anybody. What happens if you become ill? What happens if you become weary? What happens if you want to take a vacation? What happens to your family? And this is what we saw, is that many of those chiropractors that had these massive practices that were seeing people 7 days a week, 16 hours a day, thousands of people a week, and they could go and talk on stage and brag about all the people they saw, their relationships broke down, or they ended up getting sick, or their life broke down. How can you advance the chiropractic profession if your body physically, mentally, spiritually, relationally starts to break down? It can't happen. So we have to build a good life, and we have to build a practice that serves us as much as it serves other people. So today we're going to be talking about the top 6 reasons of why your practice is not where it's at. And we're going to look at this from a business model. We're going to have the mindset of a CEO. So this is going to be good. Hang on to your seats here, because we're going to go through this really quickly. You're going to want to take lots of notes, because there's lots of keepers. There's lots of gems coming up here. The very first thing, as a business owner, any business owner, to start a business, a viable business, you have to have a clear picture of what it is you're selling. What are you delivering? What are you delivering to the people? So in other words, what is your patient avatar in your office? And if you haven't clearly defined what it is you're delivering, and what type of person that you want to deliver that to, well, guess what happens? The public perception, and you all know this, the public perception puts you in a place of a commodity where you're delivering some form of pain care. So if you haven't clearly identified what it is you're delivering, then you have been put into that category of pain care. And guess who else is in pain care? Well, there's physiotherapists, there's massage therapists, there's naturopaths, there's physiatrists, there's, osteopaths. You can list off all of the healthcare providers that provide some sort of pain relief. And unless you've clearly distinguished your vision and communicated your vision, and the type of care, the type of delivery that you're giving to people, you're going to be put into that commodity network. And guess what? There's been studies that have shown that when people perceive chiropractors as being in that pain care realm, which they do. I mean, you're grouped into that. Unless people know otherwise, they group you into some sort of pain care delivery, even if and many of them don't even know what a chiropractor is or what you do. So they would just assume they either don't know or they put you in this pain care model. Well, guess what? You're ranked well below the physiotherapist. You're ranked below the physiatrist or the MD. You're ranked way below the osteopath. You're ranked even below the massage therapist in public mind. There was a study done years ago by the Ontario Chiropractic Association that did a survey, and typically when that came back, the average person ranked chiropractors well down the ladder, even below massage therapists for knowledge and skill and ability to solve the problem when it came to pain care mode. So unless you've clearly distinguished your vision and clearly communicated your vision, so many of you don't have your vision statement up on the wall. Many of you haven't communicated your vision to your team. Many of you haven't even identified the vision in your own mind of what it is you're delivering. So that's the very first thing, is you need to identify your vision. Articulate it, write it out, refine it, constantly refine it. It doesn't matter if you've been in practice for 30 years, constantly refine it. The thing is, we have to tie vision. For us to be successful as a profession, for us to be successful as a business, we have to tie our vision to our principle. We have this beautiful principle that really defines us as a profession. It makes us unique. That when we can share that principle, that there is a universal intelligence, and within every living person there is an innate intelligence, then that innate intelligence runs and animates this physical body through the nervous system, and a spinal subluxation creates interference in that nervous system that disrupts the connection between the brain, the body, the universe, that we cannot be the best self, the best version of us when we have a subluxation. When we are disconnected from the spirit and the physical, we cannot function properly. We cannot become the person that God created us to be. When people hear that, when people understand that, when you've communicated that well to people, their light bulb, their mental light bulb goes off, and they say, why hasn't anybody told me this before? It completely makes you unique. You need to figure out how to put the principle into your practice and into your daily communication. Here's a great exercise too, is to talk to your staff to say, okay, really ask them the question, what is it that we are delivering here in our office? See what kind of answer you're getting. I mean, that's going to be really revealing for some of you. In fact, probably a little scary to even hear the answers of your staff. Your staff are your ambassadors of your office. So they should be really well scripted and well trained on what it is you're delivering and what your vision is. They're going to go out and tell their families. They're going to go out and see people in the mall. They're going to go out and talk to their friends, and their friends are going to ask them, where do you work? And they're going to say, I work at so-and-so's office, Dr. So-and-so's office. Well, what do they do? And if they can't clearly articulate what it is you're delivering, man, there's no chance that that staff member is going to be an investment into your team. Okay, so that's number one. And the other thing is, why are we different? Why is what you do in your office different than the chiropractor down the street? You need to be really unique and make sure you can articulate that and communicate that well. That sets you apart. You know, there's thousands of car dealerships out there, but there's certain ones that have elevated themselves in the public perception above everyone else. And people automatically perceive those cars or those dealerships as being better than the other ones because they've created that clear vision and created that clear idea of what it is they're delivering. So that's number one. So number two, a practice without systems. So if you have a chiropractic practice and you haven't put the proper systems in place, you've simply created a job for yourself. Okay, very simple. What is chiropractic? Well, you know, chiropractic is a professional professional system that we have to deliver healthcare to people. And if we only take it to that purpose where we're exchanging our time for a service and somebody's paying us for that service, it's too limited resources. We're using our physical ability to provide care for a person in that short amount of time, and they're paying us for that. It's a very limited resource. So that's the lowest form of wealth. That's the lowest form of thinking. So we need to ascend above that. So here's a few things that we need to think about. There's four things to creating a good business model. And this doesn't apply just to chiropractic. This applies to any single business. If you're going to start a business, these are the four things that would really make your business successful. Number one is lead generation. Every single business needs leads. You need new people coming in. You need new people. So we need new patients. Second thing is lead conversion. We need to put systems in place to convert those leads, to meet them where they're at, intrigue them to come into our office, and then educate them enough for them to say, this is something I value, this is something that I want. The third thing is customer ascension. We need to have some sort of an upsell. This is a profit building type of system in our office. You're going to have 20% of your practice that love you, that are going to be with you from the time that they come in the door. They felt that they found a home in your office, and they're just going to be regular people. You don't even have to think about them re-signing. They're going to be re-signing all the time. There's 20% of your people that will do anything that you suggest in your office. You change your technique, they're there with you. If you add a new service in your office, they want to try it. There's always those people. Have programs for those people. They're the ones that love you. They respect you. They believe in you and trust you. You can create services that are helpful services for those people. They're the ones that are going to buy it. I ask chiropractors very often, how many $16,000 care plans have you sold? And most of them, their eyes open wide up and go, well, I haven't sold any. Well, how many do you actually have available in your practice? And of course, the answer is none. Why don't you have some sort of high level care plan where you're adding these services for people? Because you're going to have a percentage of your practice that want those services. You can stack, maybe it's stacking nutrition, maybe it's stacking some sort of modality, maybe it's stacking your chiropractic care, maybe it's decompression, whatever it is, these services, they stack together, and those patients are going to want that. That's a profit generating type of system. So, these are all things that we have to think about. So lead conversion, train on your procedures. So lead conversion, if we haven't put the proper systems in place, there's no way that we're converting leads. So we always say that seeing patients is something we do between our training. So, in our office, our training was number one priority. We trained so hard. We were so good at what we do, and that gave us a confidence. And it gave us a confidence to say, we can confidently accept a new patient, knowing full well that we know exactly what they need to get better. It also raised our confidence to say that we're not willing to compromise on our fees because we know how good we've gotten at delivering care. So we're less apt to, try to make deals or accept people when they want to say, no, I want to pay as you go. No, we have a care plan set out. We know it works. We know we can deliver it very, very well. So it raised our bar for the acceptance of people that we wanted. And therefore, that attracted more people. It gave us a higher level of integrity. So it created value. It disconnected us from the time and money type of thing. So the number one thing when it comes to lead conversion, master your craft. Train on what you're doing. Get good at adjusting. If you need to take an extra course, if you need to go and practice your skills so that you can deliver chiropractic in a better way, so that you're delivering not just your adjustments, you're delivering an experience for people when they come into your office, and they can leave your office and be completely wowed and go and tell their friends. That's your best source of referral. If that patient can come into your office and have just a fantastic experience, that is the best form of referral, the best recommendation that a person can give you, is that they've just had a fantastic experience in your office. And that will supersede all other bad reputations or all other stereotypes and stigmas that people may have in their mind. The next thing is obviously lead generation. We talked about lead generation, lead conversion, customer ascension, and customer retention. So the next thing is lead generation. Now here's a couple things, and these are definitely going to be writer downers for you. When we go into practice, I mean, new patients are the lifeblood for a practice. We want to create great retention systems, and we're going to talk about that. But new patients are really what drives a practice. So generating leads is so vital for you. So here's something to think about. Everything obviously is downhill from lead generation. Decide on your capacity. When you have good systems to be able to handle people, then you know how many people you can handle, and you're thinking proactively. Like, let's say I wanted to go and open up my own practice somewhere, and I wanted to drive that practice to 600 people a week. I know how to do that. I can put the people in place proactively rather than say, oh, I'll hire another staff member when I get busier. It doesn't work that way. We need to put the systems in place first. So when it comes to lead generation, here's a really, really important value and important calculation for you to understand. So if you take your monthly collections, and let's just say, for example, in a smaller average size practice, $30,000 a month. We're collecting $30,000 a month, and we get 30 new patients per month. And that's going to be about an average. We calculate the value of lifetime value. So LTV, lifetime value of that patient. If I have 30 new patients and I'm collecting $30,000, every new patient, a relative value would be $1,000 per new patient. That's an average number. And I would suggest to do that every single month. And it's going to be a little different every month, but generally, the trend will be pretty consistent. If you took an average over at least 3 months, 6 months over the last year of your LTV, hopefully it's around $1,000. If your practice is less, if you have an LTV of less than $1,000 per new patient, then there's a few things going on here. For instance, number one is you're probably not converting very well. Maybe people are not staying around for their care plans. They're certainly not staying for a lot of maintenance care because they're not spending a lot of money over the lifetime of a new patient in your office. So if it's less than $1,000, there's some things to diagnose here. Maybe your conversion rate is very, very low. And like I said, your retention is very, very low. So these are things that need to be addressed. On the other hand, if your lifetime value is high, so let's say you're collecting $60,000 a month and you're averaging 30 new patients a month, your LTV would be $2,000 per patient. That's a sign of a healthy practice. That's a practice where people are staying around for a longer period of time. That's the practice where they're spending more money per person when they start coming in. So these are things we need to cancel. Now, if you know your LTV for people, then you can say, okay, well, if every new patient has a value, and let's use $1,000, for example, has a value of $1,000, now I can calculate my marketing spend to get those people. And let's just say if my marketing, total expenses of my marketing were I'm paying for Facebook ads. So I'm paying Facebook for the ad spend. I'm paying an agency, to run those ads for me. Maybe I'm doing some 1 or 2 lunch and learns a month, and there's a cost associated with that. So let's just say all my marketing costs add up to a certain amount of money, and I divide that by all the new patients that are coming in as a result of those marketing expenses. And I can say, okay, well, my marketing expense per person, then I can work it down per person. Let's just say it works out to be $100. So if my marketing is costing me $100 to get a new patient in the door, but every new patient to me is worth $1,000, that's a 10-to-1 return. That's pretty darn good. If you're getting a 10x return on your marketing expenses, including all your staff time, your Facebook ads, your marketing agency expenses, your expenses on outreach, that's a good return. Ideally, if you're getting a 4 to 5 to 1 return, that's still good. Anything less than that, you know what, you're probably not there's something not right there. So these are the things that we have to start paying attention to. So if I want to scale my practice and I'm getting a 10x return on new patients, why the heck wouldn't I spend $15,000, $20,000 a month on advertising or marketing expenses? Therefore, knowing I'm going to attract 100 new patients or maybe 150 new patients, if I'm getting a 10x return, and if I know that works and that equation is really linear and it's very consistent for me, then I can just go and put the people in place to say, okay, this is where I want to grow. I need this many staff members. I need to get an associate here because we're going to get to this volume. We're going to put this marketing expense in place and this marketing, and I was about marketing investment in place because it always should give a return on your investment. And then I can attract as many people. It's simple. And I've talked to so many people, and now that we provide marketing services for people, I talk to so many people that don't have that foundational things in place to say, oh my gosh, I couldn't take more new patients. I want to change the world chiropractically. I know we got to get out there. We got to get more people living a chiropractic lifestyle. We got to get the principle of more people. But oh my gosh, I couldn't. If I drove a bus to your office full of new patients right now, and all these new patients were sick and dying, and they needed your help, they needed your services, could you handle it? Could you take them all in today and examine them and give them x-rays and start them under care right away? Could you do it? So plan on where you want to go. Put the people in place to fulfill what you need to fulfill, and then set it up that way. It's very, very simple. It's so simple now to build a practice when you know these things and know how to do it and know how to communicate chiropractic. As long as you're communicating it with that vision in mind and that principle in mind, you can put the how into place very, very easily when it's all based on that. So lead generation is really important. The other thing that, again, is really important when it comes to building a practice is your online presence. So again, write this down. This is really important. When we get off the call, I want you to go to Google and just go to do a Google search and type in your name or type in your office and do a Google search and see what comes up. People are doing that, right? So realize your patients are doing that. They're searching you up. So you need to know what comes up. How many social media posts have you posted? How many YouTube videos have you posted? What comes up when people look at you? Do you have an online presence? Or do they search you up and they see crickets? Your Google rankings, you're way the heck down on the list. You're not even on the first page. They're looking for a chiropractor near me, and you don't even show up. You're not even in their wheelhouse. So these are all things that we need to think about. Is we need to start making sure that people know what we do, know where we are, know where to find us, know what we deliver. So again, that's first and foremost no matter what business you have, whether you're a chiropractor or whether you're selling widgets, it doesn't matter. You need to make sure people know where you are, what you do, and how you deliver what you do. And here's the big thing, what problem you can solve that they're willing to exchange money for. That's one of the biggest things when it comes to marketing and when it comes to positioning your office. What problem can you solve for them that that's big enough that they're willing to exchange their hard-earned money for? So, put the events in your calendar, put the things in place to drive your marketing and get those people in the door, lead generation. So next thing is, you're not good at closing. This is number 4. You're not good at closing. So people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So people don't care what you do, how you do it. They don't care the details about how they're going to get adjusted. They don't care. They care, how can you help them? Can you help them? How long is it going to take? And they don't, here's the big thing, and you might think, how much is it going to be? But that's not it. It's not how much it's going to be, is how much value do you provide? How much value do you provide? It's not when they ask you how much does it cost, they're not asking you a monetary value. They're asking you how much value do you provide? What's it worth to them? So here's the big thing. Let's just say, hypothetically, I had a care plan that's $5,000. And I bring these patients in and I talk about chiropractic care and I talk about all the things that we do, blah, blah, blah. And I say the care plan's $5,000. The majority of people are going to look at that and go, wow, that's too expensive. Okay, that's too expensive. But let's put it in perspective. Let's just say I have a used Ferrari. It's a 2016 Ferrari. It's only got 3,000 kilometers on it. It's in absolute mint condition. I've kept it under a blanket in my heated garage, up on stilts, so it hasn't even touched the ground. It's been polished, buffed. The engine runs like clockwork. All the fluids have been changed. It's in immaculate condition, and I only want $5,000 for it. Everybody go, oh, holy, like, how can I borrow the money to buy this thing right away? Because the perceived value in their mind is so much higher. So what we have to do in our office is create that perceived value that by the time that they see our fee, it's a no-brainer. Or they look at the fee and they go, is that all? is that like, I'm getting everything for this? I'm getting this problem in my life solved for only that amount? That's what we have to get to. So we need to figure out the systems to put them in place to create so much value that people just say, I can't not do this. You know, it'd be silly for me not to do this. And here's the other thing. Many of you don't even have a guarantee. You know, if I was coming in as a new patient and, you know, and I'm a little bit on the fence, I'm a little uncertain, is this going to work for me? Boy, it's a lot, you know, I perceive it as being a lot of money out of my pocket. I do have a problem that perhaps you can solve, and you're telling me you can solve. I'm uncertain. I don't know if I'll do it. Maybe I need to think about it. All these things that go through patients' minds. If you can give them a guarantee, and I know, listen, we can't guarantee our services. You know, our boards will not allow us to guarantee our services, even though, and I can confidently say when people come into my office, I can guarantee, I know we'll do whatever we can to get them well. I mean, we will remove, if our goal is to remove the interference, I will guarantee we will remove the interference. And then we let innate take over. You know, so we can't guarantee symptom relief. We can't guarantee that that person's going to get better. But I can tell you what, I will guarantee the experience that you have in my office. I will guarantee that you will have an absolutely great experience. You will love the experience. And I know darn well that you'll want to refer your friends and refer your family because it's such a great experience. And I would say after the first 30 days or after the first 60 days, if you don't have a great experience, if there's something that we have not done to meet your expectations, then we would be very happy to refund all of your money. And that can be the push that people need to say, okay, I'll make this decision. And then we do it. And then, you know, maybe once in a blue moon, we have somebody come to us and say, you know, I didn't have a good experience. And the first thing I want to do is ask them, okay, well, what can we do better? Why is that? And then I would do everything I could to make it up to them. You know, not just an apology, but okay, can we just take care of you for, you know, at our expense for the next 6 months to see, you know, if we can make up for that, or, you know, whatever that is, to make sure that we're doing everything. We look at this, if you went to the Ritz-Carlton and stayed at the Ritz-Carlton and had a bad experience at the Ritz-Carlton, they would do whatever they needed to do to make sure you left there happy and you were going to give them a 5-star review, even though you had a bad experience. They would maybe comp your room, they would give you a free dinner, they, you know, may give you another stay at another resort. They'll do whatever they need to do to win your trust back. And so we need to have this Ritz-Carlton experience when people come into our office to say, we're so confident in what we deliver, not just our care, but the experience that you have in our office, we're willing to guarantee that experience. And watch what happens to your closings when you do that. So you position yourself as someone that can deliver the goods with confidence. The next thing, number 5, customer ascension. You know, we touched on this a little bit. There's not enough profit in what you do. You know, you haven't got yourself to the place where you're so confident in what you're delivering that you can't justify your fees. And so what happens when that we end up compromising, it lowers our integrity. We start, if we're delivering care plans, we start accepting people as pay as you go, and we allow them to do that. We're doing corrective care program, and we know it's going to take at least, you know, 6 weeks or 12 weeks to see a change in their spine or whatever that may be. And we're not willing to guarantee that, or, you know, we compromise and persons may be on the edge and says, well, I don't know, I'm not sure. And we say, okay, well, just kind of pay as you go. We've now lost our integrity. We now have just basically said, okay, you know, what we said before about all that care plan stuff and taking this long and whatnot, that's all just, you know, not true. And so we'll accept you on your terms. And that is a destroyer of a business. That is a destroyer of a practice. So what happens is now you start accepting people on their terms. And even if they did refer somebody, who are they going to refer? They're going to refer somebody who wants to come in on their terms, because they said, oh, he's going to tell you all about his care plans. He's going to tell you all about, you need to be here for the next 6 months or 12 months or whatever it is. But if you just say this, then, you know, they'll compromise. It totally destroys the business. So get good at what you do, get good at what you communicate about what you do, and be firm on who you're going to accept as a patient. We can't accept everyone as a patient. We can't. It destroys our integrity. It destroys our practice. It's like accepting a cancer cell into your body and allowing it to flourish. Once you start doing that, it takes over. So these are things that we have to start drawing the line on. So the next thing that we want to talk about, is retention. And this is one of the biggest things when it comes to growing a big practice. And I'll spend a few more extra minutes on this one. People quit too soon because you haven't shared your vision. You haven't gotten them to really accept the principle in your office. And so what happens is people, they come in typically for pain relief, and especially if you're doing any type of online advertising, most online ads are pain relief ads. So what happens is they come in for pain relief and they might get better. And if they don't understand principle, they don't understand your mission and vision, then they quit. Well, what happens is they come in for pain relief. And again, if they don't understand your mission and vision and they don't get pain relief, well, they quit. They say, well, it didn't work. So either way, it's a no-win situation. So we have to make sure we're sharing principle. So how do we do that? Well, I mean, if we don't have strategies in place in our office to share our mission and vision with people on a regular basis, we never build a high retention practice. I'm going to tell you an example. So here's a perfect example. I have a colleague who actually uses us for advertising, and he spends, get this, he spends $6,000 a week on ad spend, Facebook ad spend, $24,000 a month. They're seeing about 200 new patients in the door. They're getting about 400 leads a month. They're seeing about 200 new patients in the door a month, but the average duration of their new patients is about maybe 4 to 6 visits. So it's a very much of a turnstile type of practice. There's no retention. They're collecting 6 figures, but it's all front end loaded and it's really dependent. But think about the advertising expenses that they're spending. They're spending thousands and thousands of dollars a month, multiple, like 5-figure thousands, multiple 5-figure thousands to make that money back. So we had some discussions and we put some things in place about re-examinations and about talking about principle and help. And guess what? His advertising expenses now have been cut by 75%, and his total volume has not just stayed where it is, it's actually gone up because now he's starting to create some retention. So these are some things we have to put in place. So these retention building tools put in place. Number one, dinners, I always found were the best way for us to create retention. It was a way for us, and mindset-wise, it was a way for us to give back. They were community appreciation dinners. We were thanking our community for the success we had and for our community supporting us through the years of practice. So we would take our community out for dinner. Anybody was welcome to come. We had certain age ranges, but anybody was welcome to come. There's no stipulation. And at that dinner, we would do an advanced talk on a certain topic. It wouldn't be necessarily a chiropractic talk. Mind you, we would weave chiropractic into the talk. It might be a talk on cancer. It might be a talk on heart disease. It might be a talk on stress. It might be a talk on certain medications or whatnot. But we would have an advanced talk that would attract attention that people would want to come and listen to. And we would weave chiropractic principles into the talk. So we're constantly sharing our vision. We're feeding them. And what would happen is, as a side effect of that, people would want to come into our office. The people that were already in our office that came to these dinners after dinners after dinners would bring tablefuls of people. They would actually reserve a table. We had these tables of 12, these big round tables of 12. We would have one person come in and say, I have 11 guests I'd like to bring to the dinner. Okay, we'd be happy to reserve a table. It was unbelievable the way it worked. So we just put these things in place and they just grew over time because we were consistent, and we were terrible at them at the beginning, but gradually over time we got better and better and better at attracting, and we had dinners of 350 people. It was spectacular. And so even the opportunity to get up and speak to 350 patients or prospective patients and share your vision and share the principle and be totally disconnected from the outcome. I didn't care if one person came in from that dinner as a new patient. And that's kind of the attitude we had. So it didn't come across needy. It didn't come across salesy. It came across so genuine. And guess what? Next thing you know, we had 90 new patients in the next 2 weeks. So they were great things to put in place. We were doing advanced talks on a regular basis on relative topics. Like I said, topics that people wanted to hear about. To go out and do a talk on chiropractic, nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody knows what chiropractic is about. Nobody cares. But if you do a talk on a relevant topic that people care about, raising a healthy family, keeping your kids off medications, keeping great relationships, all these different things you can weave in chiropractic principles because they all come back to that principle in the long run. So we would do nutrition seminars in our office. So every month we had a nutrition seminar. We had nutrition 101, 102, 103, and we would just rotate those every 3 months. And we'd have people coming out to them all the time. We'd have, 10, 20, 30 people coming out to those nutrition talks on a regular monthly basis. Not only would it keep people engaged, but then as an upsell of that, we had supplement specials. We would often sell, a whack of supplements after those nutrition talks on a regular basis. And we had an upsell of a nutritional weight loss program, which then people would want to jump into. And then that ended up being probably about $1,500 to $2,000 per patient that jumped into that program. It drove itself over time. So we would do sometimes a talk of medication of the month. And if you're doing a talk, keep in mind how many people you have that are taking blood pressure medications or cholesterol medications or antidepressants. And all you need to do is start advertising, put it on a flyer, put it on your whiteboards, send an email around to your patient list that you're doing a talk on this. You're going to have a huge number of people saying, hey, that's me. They're talking to me. I need to be at that talk. Create the culture. You want a retention-based office, create a culture in your office of what you stand for and what it's a culture that people can feel when they walk in the door. We had a staff member and she was awesome. I'm going to say she was not the best administratively. If we hired her just for her administrative skills, she would never get the job. But she brought such an energy to the office that she could just, if somebody came in with a frown on their face, within minutes, she could have them laughing and giggling. She created such a culture in her office that I'm sure she probably made us hundreds of thousands of dollars over the years that she was there because of the retention that she created for people that just wanted to come in and be in her presence at the front desk. And they would often come in, they would hang out there at the front desk, they'd come in and get adjusted, and they'd hang out there for another 30 minutes or 45 minutes, just listening to her laugh and getting people laughing. And she could insult people and get them laughing at the same time. It was so fun to have her with us. So look for people like that. Look for people who are going to add to the energy of your office. People follow people with a big vision. The bigger your vision is, the bigger following you're going to have. Have video testimonials set up. Have a small area in your office where you have a camera and a seat set up all the time. So somebody has a great experience. Hey, great, come on over. Have a staff member in charge of that. They would bring them over, ask them a couple of questions, film everything. Every talk you do, doctor's reports, everything, film everything. That's all giving you content that you can then repost on social media to give yourself a presence. So people follow people with a big vision and get those video testimonials going. Make sure that you're filming absolutely everything that you do. Google reviews. Google reviews are so vital. If you don't have a system in place, send me a DM. We can help you with that. Google reviews are so important for you to have on an ongoing basis. Collect as many as you can. And here's the thing, put a system in place, if you don't have this already, to respond to every review. A Google review is a way for a patient to either give you a pat on the back and say thank you publicly for what you're doing, but it's also a way for people to throw stones at you. So if you're getting low quality reviews, 1 or 2 star reviews, it gives you an opportunity to ask that person. It's a learning experience to say, what is it that we did wrong that we couldn't earn a 5-star review from you? And they're going to be very open with you. Maybe they're angry at you for some reason. But here's the thing is that respond to every review. Have a system in place to respond to every review, whether you automate that and use AI to do it, or whether you have a staff person in charge of it, respond to every review for 2 reasons. Number one, the person that gave you the review, thank them. Even if it's a bad review, thank them for the review. Acknowledge the review. It's really important for that. Maybe even you want to take it a step further, send them a gift certificate, send them a gift basket, give them a gift certificate on product or something. Acknowledge the fact that they gave you a review. It shows appreciation. Number 2, is that Google will rank your office based on the number of reviews, the quality of reviews, and your responses. So if you're low on the Google map, if you're not on the first page of Google, that's one way you can change that immediately by responding to those reviews, because that will immediately increase your rankings on Google. So get those reviews and respond to them. Your re-exam process, like I mentioned just about the fellow I was just talking about, if you don't have a good re-exam process where you're using that outcome measure, people need an outcome measure to gear their progression by, because if you don't have an outcome measure, they're using pain. And pain is not something that you're not delivering. You're not in the business of delivering pain relief. As much as the public thinks you are, we are not. We can't be in the profession of delivering pain relief. So have an objective measurement that you're using on your re-exams to monitor how that patient is coming along and show them how they're coming along. They might still be in a tremendous amount of pain, but if you can show them that they're changing, whether their spinal curves are changing on their x-rays, whether their neurological scan is changing, whether their postural, changing, or their bilateral scale weights are changing, whatever that is, be able to show them that they're improving based on that objective and show them that every single re-exam, and always bring up the fact that where they were when they first come in and how far they've come, no matter what re-exam it is, no matter if they've been in your office for 2 weeks or whether they've been in your office for 20 years, it doesn't matter. It's always really important to remind them where they were when they first started. And, so that, again, that's really, really vital. The other thing about the re-exam process is to always ask them, and here's the biggest question, and I always ask this every single re-exam, after showing them their objective measure, and in our case, it was always the initial x-ray. If you decided to stop care, if you decided to quit chiropractic care, would this problem stay where it is? Would it get better on its own, or would it get worse? And just be quiet and wait for them to process that question and answer the question. And ultimately, they're going to say it's going to get worse. As soon as they acknowledge that, you have allowed them the opportunity to make the decision in their own mind that this is something they need to do for a lifetime. Ask the question and be quiet and wait for their answer. It's a simple technique, but it works. You're not pushing them to any, you're not persuading them. All you're doing is asking the question. They're the ones that are making the decision. And ultimately, it's a very simple no-brainer decision. But you have to ask and you have to wait for them to respond so they can verbally acknowledge that question and make it right in their own mind. So other ways to create retention. Well, you've got a great re-exam process. Maybe you have an affiliate program or referral program. You look at across the internet now, every big website has an affiliate program. You look at Amazon, you can become an affiliate of whatever you want to sell, and then you promote it on your own social media and you make money on it. Why don't you have an affiliate program in your office to say that, hey, we'll give something for referrals. We have a gift for everybody. Maybe it's a gift certificate. Maybe it's maybe it's a reduced care plan, or whatever. Maybe it's some percentage off the care. Whatever it is, figure it out. But give people an incentive to create referrals. Teach them how to refer people and give them an incentive to refer people. And then they're the ones doing the marketing for you. It's a simple marketing investment to have an affiliate program for people. Special events. Create culture in your office by having special events. You want to see more kids in your office? Have kids days. Maybe you have, so here we are going into the summer months, and starting for the fall, we want to do some spinal checks and scoliosis checks and backpack checks. Have a kids day. Bring in the local police department to fingerprint young kids so that they have a police record. And because kids go missing these days. So to have a police record would be fantastic. Bring in the fire department. They'd be happy to come in. Bring in the police department. The kids can sit in a police car. There's all kinds of fun things that you can do to be part of the community, to create energy in your office. Maybe you have a draw to say that every parent that brings their child in, or, that starts care in the summer months, we're going to have a draw the first day, the first Monday or Labor Day Monday for a PS5 or for an iPad or for a new bike. And guess what? How many parents are going to say, hey, that's great. My child would love to win that. That would be kind of fun. They're going to bring their child in for an exam and get them under care and put their name in the draw as a result of that. And then you promote the heck out of that. It's just fun. It creates energy in your office. So start thinking outside the box and start thinking about how can we create energy and how can we create a culture in our office. We attract leads in our office. We have patients that discontinued care. Maybe they discontinued care 6 months ago, a year ago, 5 years ago. And what happens is we forget about them. We let them go. There were, 100 leads in a month that would apply to your Facebook post or a Facebook ad to come into your office, but maybe only 25 of them would actually show up in your office. So that left 75 leads that got left. They had a problem. They acknowledged your ad. They actually made the attempt to submit their information, their contact information to come in, and then they never did anything about it. Let's put them on an email list and constantly give them more information. Maybe we give them core strengthening exercises, or maybe we give them a home take care of your bad spine program. There's all kinds of things we could do on a regular basis. So an email or even an SMS campaign to keep you in the forefront of their mind. They might not decide to come in now because they saw your ad, but maybe after 3, 4, 6, 12 emails, 12 months down the road, they might say, okay, well, they've earned my trust. They've earned my trust enough. They've had enough touches or enough time that I've gotten to understand what they stand for. Now's the right time for me to go in and become a patient. So sometimes people are not going to decide to become a lifelong patient by seeing one Facebook ad. They might need a number of touches. So put these things in place to keep active and keep intent, going to people, keep your face and your name in front of people as much as you can. And it's a great way to build a presence in your community. You can start having webinars, regular webinars for your patients and guests. You want to have live events, start having webinars. And Russell Brunson, who's the founder of ClickFunnels, will say, you want to build $1 million business, have one webinar a week for a year. One webinar a week for the year, sell your product, give people value, and you create a 7-figure business. Radios, podcasts, TV shows, a YouTube channel. There's all kinds of ways that you can get your knowledge out to the public. And again, be disconnected from the results. But the more value you can create, the more people that will trust you, and therefore the more people that will want to come and see you, the bigger culture that you've created in your office. So there's 6 ways to start turning your chiropractic practice into a business. And we can expand on those. We can multiply the expansion on those many, many times over. Here's the thing is that you just have to have the mindset to want to change things. Be the difference in your community. Start thinking like a CEO. And for you to build a big practice that is sustainable through your chiropractic career, through your lifetime, not to mention for you, so you can have time for your family, so you can earn an incredible income, become a very wealthy person. If you're going to advance the profession, you need to have some leverage behind you, which means you need to have some resources. You need to create great wealth for yourself. So let's not start thinking about building wealth just for me so I can have more stuff. Let's start thinking about building wealth so I can become more of a powerful person, that I can advance this profession in the way that I feel it needs to be advanced. Maybe I build enough wealth that I want to build a new school, that I lead the charge on building a new school, or I change the profession to advance the profession in a way that it should go. So start thinking about, will you serve your mission in a big way? And also, here's the other thing when it comes to building a big practice. You build a practice that starts to build like a business and runs itself. You get to the end of your practice career, and guess what? Your practice is extremely valuable as a business because it runs itself. It's not dependent on you, which means that somebody comes along and sees that, and maybe they're not even a chiropractor. They look at your practice like a business as a good investment to invest into as a sale. So you want to change locations, you want to move to a different area, build your practice like a business, and all of a sudden the value that you've created, not to mention the people that you can affect and transform their lives, becomes so much greater. The wealth that you can create, the difference you can make. Start thinking like a CEO. That's how we change the profession. That's how you change your life. That's how you change your practice. I'm Dr. Colin, and love you guys. I will, if anybody has any questions, you want to talk to me personally, send me a DM below. I'm happy to get on the phone with you anytime. Love you. Have a great day.